Hello, hello, are we live? How are we all doing today? Hello, chat. Who have we got for this stream right here, right now? I can see Agatha. What the segma? See Agatha in chat. I can see Livy. Oh no, I'm not brave enough for politics, and that's the last we've heard of her from the stream. And DJ, welcome. I think you're the only one actually here right now. I'm not sure, because those other messages are from, like, hours ago. But yes, well, this sure is a concept. You're about to get GD normals, my guy. It has been a good minute since we had the non-gaming background music playlists. Yes, it has been a little bit, and I apologize for how long it has been since I've done a Speak Space or a Debate Director or whatever. I meant to do one of these every month, just a non-gaming stream every month. But currently, I haven't done any since April, I think, so I've got like 3 months, basically, to catch up on now. I wanted to do something relating to, like, queer identity and LGBTQ stuff in June, but couldn't find the time, never really panned out. I did suggest a queer flags tier list at one point, but it just wasn't very tasteful, I think. I don't know, people didn't seem to like it very much. The world flag tier list was too similar. I really want to avoid doing tier lists. I've done so many tier lists, I'm addicted to tier lists. They're cheap, they're easy, they're straightforward, but I want to do more nuanced stuff, more advanced stuff. I want to do more research topics and actual proper debates. It's been a very long time since we've done an actual debate, but it's a lot of time and effort to set up, and I've got some ideas, but nothing's ready yet, so hopefully we'll make up for the lack of stuff like that in the last couple months soon. I think I owe you guys another game review as well, and I've been cooking ideas, but for now, just because I wanted to do something, since tomorrow is the UK's first general election since 2019, so 5 years. Since we're finally having another general election, I thought, okay, I want to do something relevant to this, and I just try to keep it straightforward. What's something simple and easy that I can just do? And then I realized, just take it on the most simple level and link it to what I primarily do on this channel. Because here's the thing, guys, here's today's charity shoutout QOTD. I've been looking over the news lately and reading through things and trying to really understand where I should put my vote. And yeah, the UK general election is tomorrow. I wanted to come up with a way to tie the politics living rent-free in my head into what I do on this channel. And I just thought, I know what I can do. Let's talk about how political these games are, because politics are in everything. Politics dictates our existence. It's an inherent part of human civilization. It's something that we all experience constantly, every day. And this is a huge tier list of just a ton of indie games. It is only indie games, so sadly, you know, you're not going to see Spider-Man or Resident Evil in here. It is indie games only, but this is like the vast majority of the type of games that I play on this channel. And this is one of the few kinds of these tier lists where I'm actually gonna know what like half of these games are. Like, I recognize a lot of the games here. There's a lot of games here that I don't know and I'm not familiar with. But I know enough about most of these games to actually put them on this list. Now, you can see this is just a general tier list of, you know, how good it is. It's like, you know, talking about, you know, the quality of it. But I'm gonna change the tiers up. And we're going to do something fun for this one, because I am a gaming streamer, okay? Not a political expert. This is not... I do want to have a serious discussion about politics as a voter, but also, like, this is going to be a little bit absurd. On purpose. Don't take it too seriously. It's not that deep. That being said, though, I do want to show off one thing that I posted on Hydration Nation, which really inspired me to do this stream in particular. And then we'll get back to things soon. Just a moment. Anyway, but sorry guys. Okay. Where is it? Here we go. Alright, let me just pause the music for a second. So, yeah. Daily dose of indie memes, a cheese eater. Welcome to the stream. Plants vs Zombies is a high tier. Oh, we'll talk about that. Yeah, DJ Grizzlies. I was thinking about Grizzlies. I have nothing to say about Grizzlies though, because it does such a poor job of communicating its story. And I haven't even played it. It's such a weird game. Yeah. Is that so? That's not my neighbor. I don't know that one. Anyways, here's what I wanted to show you guys. Before we begin, you know it's serious when Chad Polly brings out the Doctor Who fit for a Greenpeace video. I got recommended this recently, and I want to talk about it because this guy was the 12th Doctor, legendary actor. He's been in a ton of things, but also Doctor Who, kind of grew up on that show, and his performances are just remarkable. This is also a Greenpeace video, who, as you know, are one of the charities on our charity shout-out list, and linked in the description is their website, where they're actually doing a bit of a campaign right now on which party is best on climate and nature. We've ranked and rated the main party's green policies. Let's see who came out ahead. And this is only going to be relevant for people in the UK, unfortunately, but they've got a lot of information here revolving around the general election. It's a big deal, and you can see... you know, the Greenpeace's rankings are party manifestos based purely on kind of green policies and environmental stuff, because this is a critical thing now. Like, the Earth is boiling. We are pushing, what, 2.5 degrees Celsius globally now, which is way above where we should be. Like, we're starting to see more extreme weather events, and it's just going to get worse and worse as the years go on if we don't do something drastic to decrease our emissions and clean up our act, basically. And obviously the Green Party is way ahead. I mean, it's in the name. But interesting to see, you know, where the Lib Dems, the Labour and the Conservatives are. It's only showing a few select parties. I wonder if the detailed scoring has, like, everyone. Like the Welsh and Scottish parties. But yeah, you can see here that they're talking about tactical voting and different strengths and weaknesses of the parties. And yeah, if you want to read this for yourself, you can. I'm not going to get too much into that. It's very interesting. Oh bloody hell, this is in depth. But I just want to look at this video. I think everyone else is pretty much the same. This is always the same stuff. If you don't know about Greenpeace, then yeah, look them up. Links in the description. I'm also going to add this video into the description. So definitely give it a watch. And I'm just going to play it for us now, just because it sums up their point so well. And yeah, I don't care about monetizing or getting
Deciding who to vote for can be a daunting task.
Let me put on captions, actually, so hopefully you guys can hear this all right. And all right, I'm going to start talking over it. But get some of this, because this is so cool.
Deciding who to vote for can be a daunting task. But the truth is that if you want to protect the future of the planet, you're about to face a moment when that aspiration, that hope, is going to collide with hard political reality. And you will have to make a choice that may be tactical and perhaps not the one where your heart lies. Seeking out those who really understand the gravity of the climate crisis, the ones willing to make bold investments, to enact green policies, to safeguard our very existence is hard. So how do we find our way to make the best choice? Thankfully, Greenpeace can help us. They've waded through the murky waters of political promises to evaluate each party's commitment to nature and the climate, so that with their rankings of the party manifestos in hand, we can know who is truly ready to take on the climate crisis. Allow me to summarize. The Greens are leading the charge with ambitious vision. The Lib Dems, their commitment to tax big polluters holds promise, but they stumble by not blocking new oil and gas licenses. And what about the Conservatives? Just look at your rivers and streams. Labour's climate plans are powerful in comparison, and they outflank the Lib Dems by steering away from the pursuit of new fossil fuels. But real change demands more, greater investment, bolder plans to protect our natural world. We have a responsibility, you and I, to look beyond the rhetoric and the easy answers, and to place our votes where they can really make a difference. Where many of us live, only one of two parties has a chance of winning, so choose wisely. As you stand in that voting booth, remember that your vote isn't just about today, it's about tomorrow and all the tomorrows that we hope will follow it. Think about the future, think about opportunity, think about hope.
He's such an icon. He's such an icon. But yeah, and July 4th as well. What a day to have this happen. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you all because that's basically what prompted this stream. And yeah, Greenpeace are great. And you know me, I've been doing charity shoutouts for so long because, you know, I do believe charity, you know, has a place in making the world a better place. But what really makes the big changes is, of course, politics and those with the actual authority over, you know, everyone in their countries and such. So yeah, but it's gonna be tough. I don't know, our political system, man, the more I learn about it, the more I think, why is it like this? It's kind of strange and it's got issues, but well, let's get into the tier list, shall we? Yeah, the only game I've played that's really political is BioShock Infinite. Oh, good choice though. Good choice. I see what you mean. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these. I don't think we're going to need this many tiers either. I don't think we're going to need this many tiers. Okay, so let's see, how many tiers are we actually going to need for this? We're going to need maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think if we go with this, we can make it work. Okay, so this is going to be, we're going to have an apolitical tier, which means, you know, having no political views whatsoever, being like, you know, devoid of politics. If we just Google the term apolitical, for those of you who don't know, and if we put our background music back on, because it's a bit quiet for my liking, yeah. Yeah. Not interested or involved in politics. That's what apolitical means. Which you would think all of these games were apolitical, but it's a matter of interpretation, guys. What we're doing here, this is just my interpretation, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Are we dropping frames? The stream's buffering on my phone for some reason. So we're going to have an apolitical tier. We're going to be we're going to have barely a hint of potential political messaging, okay? We're gonna have, you know, just like an absolute, like fraction, like a tiny fraction of, you know, political messaging. And then in the middle here, if my stream can be working, I don't know why it was buffering now. We're gonna have, like, subtle, politics related message. say messaging. You know, in the game, there's like a message, like inherent in how it's written and presented. This is what we're looking at. Now we're looking at like, okay, like moderate. Yeah, moderately clear / obvious. You know, political message. Then we're gonna get into, you know, like, not extreme. Extreme's probably the wrong words. Subtle, moderate, overt, political message. Messaging. I'm just gonna say message. So barely a hint, subtle, moderate, overt, and then the top two will have propaganda. Propaganda. I want to include the word agenda somewhere. I feel like this doesn't go for agenda. Propaganda. Political agenda. Not just a political message, but a political agenda. Honestly, I think it's implicit. I think it's funnier that we just heard tickled propaganda. I'll put that there. I'll put message / agenda just to show the kind of increase. Whoa. Alright. Anyways, here we are, chat. Here we are. I hope the music isn't too loud. Tell me if the audio, you know, needs adjusting. I find that's a little bit loud for me. But yeah, here we are. And this is what we're going to do for like the next hour. I'm going to take the games from this list that I know, and I am going to make this list. But yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you like that, DJ. Metal Gear Rising, Revengeance, and BioShock Infinite are the only political games off the top of my head. Yeah. I'm not as familiar with MGR, but BioShock, yeah. There's a lot of politics embedded in the story because of the setting and such. Anyway, audio seems fine. Alright, let's begin. So, I'm just going to go along and pick out the games that I actually recognize. Super Fancy Pants. I know of the Fancy Pants games, but I don't know this one specifically, so I'm not going to place it. I might come back to it. Now, most of these I don't know, but I recognize this, and I recognize this. So, Bloons Tower Defense 6 is the latest in the series of the Bloons TD games, and it's basically, you have these monkeys, and it's a tower game, so you place them down, and they defend the attacking, you know, balloons. Now, one might assume, okay, it's a funny game about monkeys shooting balloons. It's apolitical, right? It's obviously apolitical. It's a kid's game. But what if, guys? What if Bloons TD is actually about the communal militarization of the native group? What if this is actually a racial stereotype? Bloons TD is racist. You heard it here first. No, I'm joking. Please, God, don't take that one out of context. This is more a reflection of me being racist, if anything. No, but okay, monkeys versus balloons. I can't think of what balloons could be in a political sense, or a political, cultural, social, you know, economic. But I have to say, it is an economy-based game with a currency, so it is inherently capitalist, you know, from a very basic, broad view. Again, not an expert, but, you know, you've got these monkeys defending their territory, so sovereignty is a factor. It's about, not necessarily nation building, but a group with a common goal fighting to defend a piece of land. I don't know about you guys, but I think there's more than barely a hint. I would go as far to say there is a subtle political message in this. A message that we must take arms to defend our common ground against invaders. It's pro-military, it's pro-capitalism. It's you know, when you really think about it, you break down what is in Bloons TD6. And yeah, guys, feel free to do your own rankings with the games you know. I am just picking the games that I know. I'm sorry if I'm skipping over some bangers. Like, I've heard good things about Shovel Knight, but I have never seen or played it. Could not tell you what it's about. This looks vaguely familiar. But let's talk about We Happy Few. Chat, I would say this, and here's the reason why. We Happy Few is a dystopian 60s Britain, which is essentially Brave New World. Everyone is drugged up on pills called Soma. It's literally the exact same as Brave New World. There's a police state. You know, any form of dissent is, you know, brutally disposed of. Everyone is, like, kind of living a lie because everyone's hallucinating a world that isn't real. It's extremely dystopian. It's extremely authoritarian. It's, like, a huge conspiracy. And, you know, it's you play as these three different characters who all have their own kind of journeys and adventures within and around this society to break out of a dictatorship, and to kind of, you know, let themselves free of, you know, the circumstances. It's an overtly political game. It has social commentary on kind of, you know, police state stuff and kind of freedom and, you know, government control of things. It's like, you know, it's kind of hard not to rank this one at the top. But I will say, and this is, I'm not saying this is good or bad, although personally I think it's better for this. The thing that puts it out of the propaganda category is that it doesn't have a message that is so strong it consumes and defines the game, to the point where the game is just a vehicle for the message. This game doesn't strictly say, you know, this is how we need to run the world and, you know, sell a certain ideology or anything. It's more of a criticism of, you know, certain political ideas through a extreme, exaggerated political kind of fantasy world. That is grounded in reality in some ways, but also very stylized and kind of, you know, 1984 in others. And, you know, in fairness, 1984 was based on the Soviet Union, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's based on Stalin's 30s, you know, USSR. And some extreme things, you know, have happened in world history. But yeah, I don't think this game quite reaches the propaganda tier. I think it goes above moderate, though. I think it's overt. The entire game's premise is based around this extreme dystopian political system, so I've got to put it in there. It's very much a kind of, you know, rebellion game. Now, Amnesia: The Dark Descent, I am aware of. I haven't actually played it, but I do know of this game. To be honest, I don't think I know enough about it to rank it. I know it's set in, like, 17th or 18th century France, but I don't know if there's really any political messaging in it. I think I'm going to leave it out, because I only really know The Bunker that well, and The Bunker is down this list somewhere, I believe. But I'm going to leave out Dark Descent for now. Let's just keep going. I don't know these ones. Terraria, I do know. I played Terraria a long time ago. It's been a very long time since I played Terraria. But I used to play it. And Terraria, you know, has been compared with Minecraft, although it's very different in a number of ways. You know, it's a survival game. You collect resources, you build stuff. It's more focused less on, like, building and your creativity, and more on kind of fighting bosses and progressing through a kind of linear adventure story. You know, the world is your oyster. You've kind of got freedom to do whatever. You can explore, you can roam. You know, there's lots of NPCs to interact with. You can kill everyone, or you can, you know, build them homes. You can do whatever. It's not Stardew Valley when it comes to the NPC interactions, but Terraria, I think, because of the game's inherent design, it does kind of espouse, I guess, certain ideas of kind of individual liberty and freedom, the right to bear arms, you know. But is that really political messaging, or is that just the game design, you know, happening to actually, you know, coincide with other political ideas, if interpreted that way, you know? It's all about slaying, you know, big bosses, you know, big threats, and exploring the world, you know. Does that mean it's pro-colonialism or imperialism? I'm gonna say barely a hint, because to be honest, I don't think there's anything that political in this game by default. But I think, depending on how you play, much like Minecraft, it has the potential to go all the way up here, if you play a certain way. But I think, as it is, as the game is, unmodded, you know, just when you open it, it's really not that political, to be honest. The Stanley Parable. Now this is interesting, because this is the OG. This is not Ultra Deluxe. This is the OG Stanley Parable. And the Stanley Parable has all these different endings. None of them are overtly political, but could it be argued that some of them are in some way political? I mean, the main narrative, the freedom ending, where you just follow what the narrator says, that ending entails this adventure story where Stanley rises up against his boss, who is mind-controlling hundreds of employees. It's a very anti-corporation kind of, you know, pro, you know, workers' rights, welfare state, kind of unionist narrative. You can interpret it in a political sense. So, you know, maybe there's something in there. And that's just one ending, you know, there's all kinds of endings revolving drab, you know, repetitive, you know, cold existence of being a corporate drone within, you know, the Western model of capitalism as we know it, you know, living from paycheck to paycheck. I think this has to go in the middle here, because it's definitely not quite as overt as We Happy Few, which is based around a political kind of thing. It's a big part of the game. But Bloons TD6 is definitely less political than the Stanley Parable. Like, if someone was to tell me, oh yeah, this game, it has like this one bit where it actually kind of tackles like political ideas, I feel like you could very easily get that from the Stanley Parable, where it doesn't, like, thinking about the game, you're like, yeah, I can see that. Whereas with Bloons TD6, you really gotta like think about it, interpret, to kind of justify any kind of political messaging. And again, this is more specific and more a response to real world things rather than like vague ideas and ideology. So I definitely think this goes in the middle here. Alright, let's keep it going. Hollow Knight, I have sadly not played yet. I hear great things about it, perhaps one day. Franbo is a game I've never played, but I have watched Markiplier's playthrough. I do remember it a bit, and I gotta say, it's a very strange game. It's very surreal. I feel like I probably don't remember enough about it to rank this, but it's like Alice in Wonderland if it was a horror game, pretty much. And I don't know where that goes on the political spectrum. I really don't. So I'm gonna skip that, but I just want people to know that I have seen that. Oxygen not included. I have also watched Markiplier play, and I feel like I do know enough to rank this one. I think this one very easily goes next to the Stanley Parable, because it's a, you know, game about colonizing space as humans and building a society. Like, that is very political. I don't think the game really pushes too far in presenting political ideas of its own volition. I think it's much more like Terraria or Minecraft, where you kind of encounter political ideals in the process of playing the game, but it's more up to the player's decisions and interpretation as to how political that gets. There's definitely not an agenda or a message with the game, as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm wrong. My memory of it's pretty vague. I haven't seen it in quite a few years. It was many years ago when I watched Mark play it. I just remember it being, for him, quite dystopian, because he ran it like a madman. And, again, it is like a world where oxygen costs money. It's, you know, colonizing space. It's imperialism. You know, there's kind of, you know, the whole struggle of labor and workers' rights in kind of building a social system, and there's a lot of economy stuff. I think there's not much emphasis on social stuff. There's absolutely nothing to do with identity or race or class, but in terms of economy and jobs and kind of, you know, money stuff, there's a lot going on with the gameplay loop being about building this colony and managing your resources. So I think as a resource management strategy sim, it automatically gets put in the kind of moderate category. But yeah, that's just me. Feels like, you know, if you disagree, let me know. Let's have some political debate in the comments. Please don't. not that kind. Anyway, there's no one watching, it's just DJ. Really appreciate you tuning in, man, but don't feel like you have to watch. Would love for more people turned up, but it is what it is. It's a Wednesday. I would have done this sooner, but the stream's gonna have a lot of what if, isn't it? Maybe. Feels like we're squinting at these games and pulling at straws. Maybe. This is for fun, guys. Most of these games are not as political. I'm deliberately, you know, trying to interpret things. All right. One Shots. A game I have never played, a game I am going to play, and a game that I watched Markiplier play through, although apparently he never finished it. One Shot is a game about this little catboy thing. He has to, like, carry a light bulb and save the world. And I don't want to spoil too much. But let's just say, I think there's a bit of a trolley problem type of moral thing going on with the ending. And, you know, it's a strange land. It's kind of like Undertale. You visit these different places, and they all kind of have their own thing going on. It's like an anarchy. And I don't know if you could really put a lot of politics into this. You know, there's definitely morality and ethics stuff in this game. But, I'm trying to think. I guess it's, I don't know, there's maybe barely a hint, I don't know, I feel like I don't know enough about that one, but I'm gonna rank it there. Do you know what, I might do that for the ones I'm not sure on, like Amnesia, and Frambo, I don't know. Stig Fight the game. Okay. Stig Fight is a little game about these 4 dudes just punching each other up, just fighting, dueling. So, one might think, okay, how can this be political? Well, Stig Fight, you know, presumably, we don't know anything about this world, but what we're seeing is stick men fighting each other for entertainment, you know. Is this, you know, glorifying gladiatorial combat? Is this consumerism and entertainment industry in action? Well, it doesn't say anything about that in the universe, it's not full, guys, you know. But, you know, is this perhaps about, you know, the individual, you know, liberty of man and their kind of right to, you know, kill to live? Is the game saying, you know, to live is to take life? Is that really political, or is that just philosophical? Do we have our first apolitical game? Because I'm genuinely struggling to think about anything here. You know, you can choose whether to play in public lobbies or with friends. Is that political? I don't know. I genuinely think Stick Fight might be apolitical, guys. I cannot think of anything, because it's not that deep. It's not that deep. Hard as I try, it's not that deep. Oh, now we're getting to interesting stuff. I'm very unfamiliar with West of Loathing. Papers, Please. This is a game I've been meaning to play on the channel for a long time. But the thing about Papers, Please is that I simply want it to be, like, not fresh in my mind before I play it, because I've watched, like, all of Jacksepticeye's playthroughs of it. But it's still kind of fresh in my head, so I don't know when I'm ever going to play this. But Papers, Please. Papers, Please is a highly political game, and it's tempting to put it in propaganda, because the premise is you are a border guard in a, you know, spoof of the Soviet Union, and you have to stop terrorists, you know, getting in, you have to stop undesirables from different neighboring countries getting in. You gotta basically protect the borders. And this is like hot political issues. This is kind of, you know, migration and kind of borders and state security, and kind of, you know, what do we do with immigrants, and like what do we do about, you know, foreigners, and like foreign international relations, all of that kind of stuff. I'm just spewing words. But this is a highly political game, so I think it at least is in the same tier as We Happy Few. I mean, there's this dystopian kind of political, you know, authoritarian, you know, like system. You live in poverty. There are several endings, and the very few endings that I considered good and have the good ending music are the ones where you basically escape and you flee. Does this push as far as propaganda, is the question. Is it possible to play the game and ignore the political messaging? Not really. It's a very political game. It's embedded in the setting, same as We Happy Few. But, you know, unlike We Happy Few, I feel like where this game emphasizes more on the individuals and their stories and the adventure of it. Papers, Please, it sticks to the grittiness, it sticks to the realism, it sticks to the world building, and you as an individual character are not that important in the story. Like, you have a few major decisions that affect your game, but there's a lot of, attention drawn to the, political rebellion and the kind of, bureaucracy. And so much. I think I'm going to have to give this one the propaganda tier. I think Papers, Please genuinely has a message that cannot be ignored. And unlike We Happy Few, where you can focus more on the individual characters, this game is politics through and through. It has to go in the propaganda category. Just to be clear, I'm not saying this game is actually propaganda. I'm just saying that the political messaging is so strong. We're putting it in the propaganda tier for the funnies. It's a joke. Sorry, liberals, it's called dark humor, you wouldn't get it. Propaganda. It's all jokes. Let me, no, it's not as funny if I put it in quotation marks. It's not as funny. Alright? Leaving it there. Untitled Goose Game is propaganda, without question. Untitled Goose Game is about individual liberty and rising up against the establishment. Every moment you breathe in that game, it's an anarchist dream. This is straight up propaganda, no question. I'm going to put it in front of Papers, Please. Shall I do that thing where I actually put them, like, in order? Yeah, so the ones on the left are, like, more of the thing. So yeah, I'm actually going to put them in order like that, because Untitled Goose Game, extremely political. Like, not even trying to hide it. Like, it is... Like, I'm half joking, but it is so... There's so much emphasis on kind of the individual relationship with power. It is all about power and kind of control and order and chaos. And if that isn't political, then I don't know what is. Next up that I recognize is Omori. Very interesting. So, without spoilers, Omori is a lengthy, disturbing, psychological horror adventure about children. And it's about tragedy and grief and life and death and kind of depression and anxiety and being out of touch with reality and dreams and nightmares, and there is a big moral, ethical angle in Omori, for sure. There's nothing really about the political system, the political order of the world. Even though the game presents scenarios and characters where you could think, these are socialist grifters who don't contribute to the economy and are kind of, leeching off us. And even though there is shoppy in economy, there's absolutely no commentary on it. The focus is very much on individual characters and their emotions and their journeys. In terms of, like, politics and talking about systems or economy, it's so lacking. I think I have to put it in here, or maybe even apolitical. I cannot think of a way to politicize Omori. It's not about politics, so I think I'm actually going to leave it in there, to be honest. And maybe I'm stupid for that, but I can't think of a way to make that political. Alright. Don't Starve Together, this one's easy. This is again like Terraria. Resource management game where you explore a world. Probably a hint, probably more than one shot, depending on how you play. I don't think that one requires a lot of explanation. It's a similar survival game. But yeah. Absolutely, DJ. Absolutely, yeah. I know a lot of people in my community have always been put off political streams, so I've reduced what I've done, but this is a great one. If I wasn't rushing this before the election, I would have probably invited people to join me in voice chat, but... yeah, no, I'm doing this one solo, because I don't think anyone would be interested anyway. Okay. Boris and the Dark Survival. You play as a lone wolf collecting scraps to survive while evading a demon. It is very much an anarchy in the setting, and you are kind of like a peasant trying to make ends meet. So again, economic angle. The the whole setting is Joju Studios, and the whole lore of Bendy more widely is about how abusive and kind of, you know, cynical this workplace was, how much of a, you know, laissez-faire, you know, capitalist dystopia it was, and how workers were kind of abused, you know, and not in like a funny way, more in like a very serious, gritty way. But yeah, is it really that political? Like, Bendy and the Machine, definitely political. I could put it up here somewhere. But Boris and the Dark Survival, you know, just because of the way the game's designed and the way the lore is told, I feel like it's just not as political. I feel like it goes maybe here, probably below One Shot even. Like, I just can't think, because you know, there's much less story. The story that's told in that game just isn't political. It's kind of about surviving anarchy, but like, there's not a lot to work with. I suppose you could take Boris's quest to remember who he is as a metaphor for identity in, you know, a mundane, you know, corporatist system where, you know, everyone has to, despite, you know, living in a free capitalist society, you know, do the same tedium of, you know, kind of work and play routines over and over and over, you know, 9 till 5, like, kind of, you know, just typical Western anti-establishment stuff, perhaps even, you know, communist dictatorship. I'll put it here, but I still feel like it's a weak source. I don't know. Kindergarten. Kindergarten is like a horror parody of, like, preschool, and it's quite funny. There's a bit of tongue-in-cheek commentary about kind of like teachers and, you know, their place in wider society. And again, the narrative roughly takes shape of a kind of, you know, rising up against an evil empire type deal. It kind of depends, you know. There is an aspect of kind of power and like who, you know, isn't allowed to use it. It's kind of, you know, there's even a bit of commentary on kind of like, you know, gender roles, I think, with like boys and girls, and just the again, it's based on preschool stereotypes. It's not really focused on politics. I'm gonna say this one's subtle, but still less subtle than these. In fact, it might go up to here, honestly, because I feel like there's enough bits and pieces that it's like that you could interpret quite a bit from that. You know, it's pretty subtle. I'll put it there. It's pretty subtle. But Kindergarten, you know, there's aspects of, you know, political ideas in there about kind of like organization and kind of social, you know, treatment of others, and kind of, you know, the economy. There's a little. Monstrum is next. This is a game I know, and I gotta say, Monstrum, moderate, definitely moderate. At first glance, it's just a spooky horror game on a boat in the middle of the ocean, running away from these monsters, and you gotta escape. But if you dig into the lore, there's, you know, this basically a rich person is doing this secret, totally illegal operation off the coast of Hong Kong, and it's like, you know, it gets into, you know, the dark side of capitalism, subterfuge. It's not particularly deep or effective. I'm not saying it's like a great political thriller, but it's like, you know, there's a little bit of kind of Bendy the Ink Machine type of, yeah, you know, mistreatment of workers in the workplace, and kind of, you know, the disparity between the wealthy and the poor. It's not really central to the game. It's not really big. But it is there if you go looking in the lore. And what happens is a result of kind of, you know, science experiments gone wrong type of stuff. Honestly, I feel like Kindergarten is more political than Monstrum, though. So maybe it should be this. Like, Monstrum, it's there, but you gotta dig for it, and even when you do, it's not as much as Kindergarten. There's not really any direct or intended social commentary. Again, it's more like, it's kind of unintentional, I guess, with the subtle ones. You know, with these, it's just, the message, if there is one, it's just not as intentional. So now we move on to Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's. Before I rank this, where do we think Five Nights at Freddy's would go on this list, genuinely? Now, are we just talking about the first game, or are we talking about the franchise? Because, you know, with this I didn't include Ultra Deluxe, although I don't think that would affect the ranking. But, you know, is this just Five Nights at Freddy's 1? Are there separate Five Nights at Freddy's games on here, or is this the whole FNAF series? Because the answers could vary drastically. And yet they might not. You're telling me Buddy Boris has something to do with politicals? How dare you talk about the good boy like that? Politicals? I can't, guys, can we make a shit post where I'm like pulling a face and it's like impact and it's like politicals just like can we just make a meme of that? It's like there we go, I've got it. I'm gonna make the meme. I'm gonna be Mr. Meme. Mystery me. Alright, watch this, guys. We're gonna do an IBX Toy Cat with this stream. That's what I should have led with. This whole stream's just an IBX Toy Cat spoof. But, like, chat. Gamers. I'm just gonna... Politicals! Oh, I love that. I love that so much. But where the hell does Five Nights at Freddy's go? It needs to be a bit bigger, I think. Let's go 120. No, that's too big. Let's go 99. And then we draw a square like so. I feel like this isn't funny enough. Can we make it funnier? Hold on, chat. I got this. I got this, chat. I got it. Chat, we did it. I'm just gonna put it in memes. There we go. POV, you're playing Grizzlies. Caption this. Come on, send. Alright. We do that. Anyway, Creeper Hacks, welcome to the stream. Livy, welcome to the stream. Dude, we get to Five Nights at Freddy's, and it's like I've just summoned you all. Guys, how political is Five Nights at Freddy's? Alright, where does Five Nights at Freddy's go on this list? Detroit Become Human. Livy, unfortunately this is only indie games. It's the biggest tier list of games I could find that were relevant to me. So Detroit is not on here, but I'm telling you guys, AAA games tend to be higher. Detroit would be propaganda. I feel like I don't need to explain why. BioShock would be here with We Have It For You. What are the AAA games? Like, Spider-Man would be maybe, like, subtle to moderate. You know... Resident Evil, probably moderate. Maybe overt, honestly. But yeah. But yeah, Detroit Become Human would be very high on this list. Probably the highest. Will the Hydration Nation be getting too political? But yeah. Oh boy. Anyway, not very political if the police justice system isn't doing right by those stuffed kiddos. Doesn't that make it more political, though? Ari would be overt, in my opinion, mainly because of Operation Javier. I don't remember what that is. Feel free to explain it. Alright, chat. If we're talking about the entire Five Nights at Freddy's series, I think it probably goes here. Five Nights at Freddy's is not a game you go to for political messaging. It is at best subtle and grounded, and it is at worst clunky, unintentional, blundering, and absolutely sending the wrong messages. If we look at the entire franchise, what does it promote? What is it about? What does this series, intentionally or not, seem to just push as an agenda? Money, money, money must be funny in a rich man's way. Yeah, so if you think sister location, security breach, just anything, any and all of the tutorial hand unit dialogue, any and all of the phone guy messages, if you just think of, especially with the more recent games, the tone and the atmosphere and the emphasis on products and charm. It is a pro-catalyst game in every sense. It is a bland, clunky, unintentional, pro-status quo establishment message. But if we put that aside and just look at Five Nights at Freddy's 1 on its own, if we just look at Five Nights at Freddy's 1 on its own, it's very close. It's very tempting. But I think it's got to go here. Because here's the thing. Five Nights at Freddy's, the original game, is an absurdist pro-socialism commentary on America. It is very much, like, anti-capitalist. And it's quite funny. Because I didn't realize this until very recently, and I don't think anyone's ever talked about this. It's a crazy topic, and it's obviously just an interpretation that was not intended by Scott Cawthon. But if you actually think about what happens in the game, and kind of look at it objectively, you experience this horrifying, life-threatening, death-defying job, this shitty, dead-end, hollow, symbol of consumerism. The entire setting is all about consumerism. The pizzeria chain, very American. And you go through this all just to get paid, like, below minimum wage of, like, the last 20 years. You're, like, paid the minimum wage of, like, the 90s or the 80s. It is, like a complete absurdist commentary. You think of all the tongue-in-cheek phone guy lines about, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days, or as soon as the premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached. It's so absurdly bleak. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously, or anything seriously at all, but the message is very much, the American laissez-faire capitalist economy system does not work, and people suffer as a result, to the point where it can be made into a joke. If that isn't advocating for more leftist socialist reform, I don't know what is. So I think FNAF is shockingly high on this list, and I think that's really funny. But if we're looking at the overall franchise, it's like here. It's so mid and clunky. What I've done is taken just the first game and interpreted it in a specific way. But I do genuinely think the first game, although probably not intentional, very much has this anti-establishment, like, political message. Which is one of the reasons I've always respected it. And I think Five Nights at Freddy's 2 carried this really well. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 carried this really well. It kind of fell off after that. But, Pizza Sim does it. It's very, in your face, but it does it. And then the message is simply lost from that point onwards. This is the funniest statement I've ever read in the context of a game about bears. Livy got taxed 40 pence this month pay? Like, how pathetic is that? Someone's scraping the bottom of the barrel. I didn't think... Do you earn more than 11k a year, Livy? Because I thought you couldn't be taxed. I guess there's different kinds of tax, right? Like, I'm probably thinking of income tax, but you probably shouldn't say too much in case it reveals personal info, but yeah. Now, Freddy wears a top hat. He's very clearly a political guy. Yeah, no, Freddy Fazbear is actually one of the bourgeoisie, and you are a proletariat. The entire struggle of keeping the bourgeoisie out of your room is the struggle of the proletariat to survive in a capitalist system. It's an allegory, guys. UCN is actually the most political game ever? How? Explain. I want a thesis. But yeah, nah, Five Nights at Freddy's, high. And I mean that unironically, because that's funny. Alright. The next game that I actually recognize from this list, I've heard of Darkwood, but I don't know where to put it. Friday Night Funkin'. You rap battle people for this girl sitting on the stereo. I believe the character names are literally boyfriend and girlfriend. It's quite funny. I guess it's meritocratic. It kind of emphasizes family values, because I think their parents are in it at some point. Kind of the nuclear family. It's probably pretty low. It's about expressing yourself, I guess, and being honest and being free. I feel like maybe there's something going on here, but that's probably where I put it. Like, I don't know. I feel like Friday Night Funkin', I don't know. I feel like it can't be higher than... It could be higher than Terraria. Does it push up to BD? You know what, I'll put it next to tunes, because this is where it's really dependent on the player. This is where, regardless of how you play, you could interpret something, So true! Wait, Freddy is a Democrat? Is he? I mean, yeah, no, Freddy would fight for managed democracy. Freddy would fight for Super Earth. Unless you specifically mean the American Democrat Party, in which case, I don't know, Chief, he might be a Republican. I think Freddy Fazbear would be aligned with whichever party was in power. And just my opinion, but the Republicans and the Democrats are so similar, I feel like the differences between them are cosmetic. In terms of actual policy and ideology, the differences are so small, it doesn't really mean a lot. But maybe I'm wrong. Okay, super hot, very political. This one, the plot twist is that you're being mind controlled. You get absorbed into this kind of like Soviet style like program. Sorry if I've spoiled this, but this game's been out for a very long time. But like, super hot is, you know, this simulation where it turns out there's this like Soviet style like mind control like conspiracy that you get absorbed into. And it's kind of about, like, espionage and kind of, like, spy stuff and the use of video games and AI and, not AI, but, like, technology with that kind of thing. There's a lot of, like, all the scenarios you play are, like, secret agent, you know, assassination type stuff where, like, you're fighting guys because, you know, it's like a Mission Impossible or James Bond movie. It's very Bond movie stuff. I feel like that's subtle. There's not really a clear message, but there's a political tone. The tone is kind of like political thriller, but it doesn't really espouse a particular message. Yeah, other than, you know, abusing technology bad. I don't know. It's just William Afton is probably like, honestly, I'm not going to spend a long time on this tangent, but because I've been spending a lot of time in direct DMs with my girlfriend Lucy, talking about headcanon for William Afton and Henry Emily all throughout the FNAF timeline, and kind of like, what was it like in the early days, just like during the day, you know, realistically at Freddy Fazbear's, like during and after the murders and before the murders, and, you know, early on, like, and like, what kind of people are these individuals? And I feel like it would be difficult to track their politics. I feel like Henry and William, you know, in like the 70s, would be young enough and naive enough to genuinely believe in the American dream. At least Henry would. I think Henry has some notion of the American dream instilled within him. And I feel like he has a very basic, very minimal understanding of politics, to be honest. I think he's quite a naive person. William, meanwhile, William's like a hard like realist when it comes to business. I feel like he would be a cutthroat businessman who, I don't know where he would truly lie politically. I feel like William Afton's the kind of guy to be so kind of selfish and pragmatic that he would put politics aside for practical goals. So like, he kind of doesn't have an ideology. Like, I feel like he's so absent in terms of values and morals and ethics that he doesn't have ideals that he strives for. He just, I mean, this is all horseshit now because we've had years of horseshit, you know, in FNAF's, you know, idea of storytelling, but back when I could understand it, William Afton's motive was implied to be like a quest for immortality. Partly. It's a bit more complicated than that. It's more interpersonal, but on the political side of things, a quest for immortality and like the sacrificing of children in like human experiments to achieve said immortality for himself and for his family. You could see a political element to that. It's like William Afton doesn't value a human life. He doesn't believe human lives are sacred. And he's even willing to sacrifice children, which, I don't know. I mean, he might just straight be a sociopath. But I politically, I don't know. I feel like he's apolitical in the strangest sense. But that's a really interesting conversation that I need to have with Lucy now. Anyway. But yeah, William Afton's parents are definitely Tory, I'll say that much. Super Meat Boy. I don't know enough about this one. Helltaker. I played this game off camera a few years back. You guys might know this game. I feel like it's a little bit risque for my channel. Like, even by my standards, it's not the kind of game I typically play. But, it's, you know, it's decently funny. You don't play it for the gameplay. You play it for the humor and for the art style and for the characters. Basically, there's this random, unnamed, you know, man. He's super muscular and everything. This guy's built. And he just decides one day he wants a harem of demons. So he ventures into hell to recruit female demons and, like, just cohabit with them. Just a bunch of these ladies from literal hell. And he basically has to, like, riz them all. And it's a fun little game. In terms of politics, I guess it's demonstrating and perhaps even glorifying the practice of polyamory, polygamy as well. Although none of these characters are actually married, but, you know, effectively. You know, it's kind of breaks the nuclear family. It's kind of socially libertarian, I guess, in the sense of also kind of, you know, oh, yeah, we don't care about sin here. You know, sin is cool. We're going to hell. We're going to get some demon girls. And it kind of, you know, conservatives would morally panic over it. I think, you know, it has like a DLC and stuff that delves into some weird sciencey stuff, but I don't know about much political messaging. I feel like there's maybe something there, but I don't know. It's not much. It's barely a hint. Like, it's, you know, it doesn't say much about systems of governance or kind of, you know, the economy. It's more like kind of, you know, individual. It kind of goes against the nuclear family. There's not much to it. Weak sauce. But moving on. The next game on here that I recognize is Undertale. Big one. This is a big one. Before I place this, chat, where do we think Undertale goes on this list? Because I'm very curious before you guys, you know, before I rank it, what you guys think. Where would Undertale go on here? But yeah. Also, we have a QOTD. I asked you guys, what is your favorite message in a game and why? And DJ said, Mr. Hippo's stories. I think as games have grown and continue to be made, there's going to be a time when you end up looking deep into a piece of game to try and get a better understanding of it, not only for there to be some fun and entertainment. So lines like, sometimes the story is just a story. You try to read into everything. Anyone says you'll just drive yourself crazy. Just goes to show that sometimes we should enjoy the game and its story for what it is instead of analysing it. Sorry, DJ, I read that out really poorly because I'm honestly tired. I've had a long day, long story. But your favorite message in the game is Mr. Hippo's story. Specifically, the one about, you know, sometimes a story is just a story. And I have to say, I'm against the idea of not analysing something because it tells you not to. I think that's all the more reason to analyse it. And I think analysing Mr. Hippo's statement about not analysing it is itself rewarding and enriching. But, great choice. You know, UCN, I wouldn't say that's political, but it's a great message, and the message doesn't have to be a political message. It's why I phrased it QOTD like that. I didn't want a political QOTD. But yeah, I think like, understanding that yes, there are mysteries and secrets, and it's fun to analyze, not just in the sense of lore, but just messaging. But also, it's just a game. It's one piece of media. It's not going to be that deep. Don't base your entire worldview around it. Speaking of which, Undertale has political beef between humans and monsters. Yes, racially motivated conflict is in the background of Undertale. Think of the background. Yeah, absolutely. The whole narrative humans versus monsters. You know, not just a war, but an attempted genocide, since they are an entire species in both cases. In fact, monsters are more than that. Monsters are different. There's like a bunch of different types. I don't know if monsters are all one species, or if it's just humans kind of rejecting anything that doesn't conform to their notion of speciesism or racism. I don't really know. It's not meant to be that deep. It's like, it's a fantasy story. But okay, so Undertale, it's got this political background. The whole setup, you know, these creatures are all trapped together underground. They're, you know, not living in the space that they believe is theirs. They're just kind of been relegated to this other land. It's a bit of sovereignty territory in there. Don't say it, Matt. Don't say it. Anything else? I'll tell you what I think. Undertale is about a child who falls in a mountain and goes on a series of misadventures trying to get out. But there is an overarching story, because you discover a world of neglected, betrayed, abandoned people who are living just fine, but have been rejected by the world in the aftermath of an immense conflict. Okay? It all comes to a head in the ending, because in order for the monsters to be freed, you have to die. There is a moral dilemma, right? The 7 hearts, they've sacrificed 6 children, they've killed, the king has murdered 6 children, and he needs 1 more soul to open the gates and let you free. Obviously that's resolved in a different way, but, you know, it kind of, there is a political aspect of that, and the Troy problem, ethical, moral, philosophical kind of way of like, oh, you know, needs of the many, needs of the few. There's also a whole moral aspect to the game of kind of mercy or genocide, kind of, you know, pacifist route, genocide route, the kind of options whether to live and let live, or kill or be killed, you know. And that's less political, more of a moral thing. You know. But yeah, exactly, Supercell, exactly, yeah. Because I can't remember how that's resolved, but I remember that sequence. You know, Undertale, there is one other thing which I found interesting. I was on Reddit recently, and I saw someone mocking a YouTube comment of somebody saying, why do people have to, let me find it, because I'm not going to do it justice if I just paraphrase. I need to actually find this thing. Because it was so funny. Let me find this. Hold on. Oh, I can't find it. Was it on the Undertale subreddit? I'm not gonna find it. Okay, basically, guys, I saw a post on Reddit of like another post of like someone basically saying, man, why do people gotta make Undertale so gay? Why is there all this LGBT barbecue bandwagoning and all this queerness in this game? And at first I was like, I'm confused, but like, why you gotta be a dick about it? It's not a problem. And then someone pointed out that there is so much queer representation in this game, it's kind of hard not to notice once you have. There are multiple, like, lesbian and gay couples, there are several non-binary characters. I think in one of the Deltarune chapters, it's implied that one of the characters is transgender, like, specifically transgender. So, from that point of view, I don't think this game is that overt with its political messaging, because I had no idea until it was pointed out to me. But it's there. If you go looking, there's enough. I'd say it's probably more or less on the level of kindergarten. You know, from a social, from a kind of, you know, economic point of view. There's source. And that's interesting though. You know, I wouldn't ordinarily say, you know, identity is necessarily a political topic, but in this context, it definitely is. It definitely is. You know, gender, race, class, it very, very much political topics, depending on the context. And that brings us to Soma. This is a game that I saw on YouTube a very long time ago, and it was long enough now that my memory of it isn't fresh, and maybe I'm going to replay it at some point soon. Soma. The basic premise of Soma is this idea that humans can have their consciousness, their brain, their mind, their soul, uploaded into a machine to preserve it forever. but you can't cut and paste. You can only copy and paste. So every time you do this, you create a duplicate of yourself. And then there's an identity crisis, because who's who? And it's disturbing, and it's kind of a very kind of, you know, science fiction future, or, you know, I think there's generally a background of, like, kind of, you know, capitalism leading to where it is, but it's not much. I can't remember much. I'm gonna put it there. Baldi's Basics. Baldi's Basics is propaganda. No. So Baldi's Basics espouses that maths is everybody's favourite subject, which is clearly an authoritarian dictatorship. Okay, but here's the thing. This is more... If there's any commentary in this game, which there isn't really, but if there's any, it's commentary on just how inadequate the school system is. It doesn't really get into why, but that is tangentially political. You know, you're surviving a madhouse in order to achieve your goals. And I think it's kind of hard to pin anything political on this. You know, Baldi's a dictator, I guess. The principal of the thing is a dictator. He's, you know, a stickler for the rules in an unhealthy way. I guess, you know, it's probably going to go here. Like, maybe you could draw something out of that. Maybe. Gosh, I don't know. Maybe. Again, this is kind of tangential on player decisions. Like, maybe it belongs to here. Honestly, Don't Starve Together is probably above these. But Baldi's Basics... I don't know. It has a currency system. I don't think it's enough to make it political. But let's just see what chat has to say, because you guys have put in a lot of messages since I last checked. In the Switch and Xbox version, it is confirmed that Mad Dummy is trans in every universe. Mad Dummy literally becomes a magical girl in the Switch version, Lamau? I haven't seen that. That's cool. It's propaganda for math, clearly, obviously. But yeah, Undertale, yeah, surprisingly political. I still don't think it's overt. It's done with more tact, and it's not based enough in the setting, the political aspects of the setting, to be on the level of FNAF and We Happy Few, but definitely up there. Does bro really wonder why I've put Untitled Goose Game in propaganda? Untitled Goose Game is pure anarchist propaganda. Everything you do in that game is a political statement. I think Baldi's apolitical. It's just doing things to be goofy, silly, and spooky fun, really. Hell, Amori is more political stuff than Baldi, because Amori actually is a real country it's taking place in. Do you know what? I'm convinced. I've been mistreating and neglecting the apolitical category. I'm gonna give Baldi's Basics the award for the most apolitical game so far. We are not going to get through all of this today, I'm realizing. I'm going to see if I can speed things up, because I got to end the stream in like 45 minutes. I didn't think this won't be that long, so I'm going to speed things up. Okay, I do actually know of Carry On. I've seen Markiplier play it, but I don't know enough about it. I feel like, I'm not sure that would go. Plague Inc. Plague Inc. We played this on the channel. Plague Inc. is maybe moderate. Plague Inc. features you creating a virus that takes over the world, and there is a lot of emphasis on news broadcasts and kind of geopolitical, you know, cosmopolitan, globalist collaboration between countries to stop that cure. Or not. You know, war and, like, disaster are, like, mentioned. There's a lot of these news reports that feed you kind of what is happening in the world. That is very hard not to make political. The game doesn't really have a particular message or statement. I think it's very much kind of, you know, pro-collaboration when it comes to health stuff, specifically. But I think that transcends kind of, like, politics. Plague Inc. is kind of, you know... It's about the world. I think it's more subtle. It would probably go above all of these, but I still think it's not got like a message that's really obvious. It's just sort of, it has political background tones. Honestly, I think I might move Stanley Parable there. Just thinking about it, because this is very loose. Then again. I'll leave it there. But yeah, Inside. This is another game I've watched but not played. Very interesting. Reminds me of Little Nightmares. Side-scrolling dystopian adventure where you gradually explore this world. Total horror game. Very creepy, very eerie. You get an insight into this, like, it is an absolute, like, police state game where, you know, your individual liberties are being, you know, stripped for the power of a few, and kind of, I don't know, it's a very weird game that's kind of hard to pin. So I'm gonna put it, like, I wouldn't say it's clear or obvious. I guess it's subtle. I guess it goes here, because it's very clear to me that there's political messaging here, but I'm a little confused on what exactly it's about, because it's such a abstract and kind of weird game that's focus is not on something inherently political. But there's a lot of stuff. If you look at what's happening in the world, you know, it's an oppressive regime, it's an oppressive atmosphere. Stop being right, Matt. OMG. Sorry, I'll be more left. Calm down, liberals. It's called edgy humor. Alright. Let's continue. Where are we up to? Shovel Knight rings a bell. Phasmophobia. Alright. Phasmophobia is a game where you go ghost hunting as your job. It is part of the capitalist world. You're in the system where you must hunt ghosts to make money. It's not quite on the level of Five Nights at Freddy's, where it's a complete, you know, absurd pastiche of kind of America. But Phasmophobia, I mean, honestly, I feel like it's a ghost hunting game. It's not really anything political. It doesn't comment on, like, horror neighborhoods or race or anything in a way you might expect. It probably goes like here, to be honest. I feel like it's very weak on that. Hell, it might be below One Shot. I feel like One Shot's still got something more definitive, but yeah, I don't know. I might put Soma above Friday Night Funkin', but yeah, I don't know. I think Phasmophobia is pretty low. Just the fact that, you know, you do it for a job. Hell, maybe it's apolitical. Is it truly apolitical? Maybe. Yeah. I think Phasmophobia is apolitical, actually. I really do. I think it's rare for a game to be apolitical, but... Alright, chat. Zardy's Maze. You're a farmer, and something weird's going on in your maze. Definitely, you know, propaganda. You know, there's something to be said about kind of like the agricultural industry and kind of, you know, food security, perhaps. But again, nothing really intentional. You know, no kind of aspects of the wider world, just kind of, you know, the farmer's right to his own farm. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think there's really anything to work with there. I will probably put it there. Maybe. You know, taking arms to fight off invaders. It's kind of why I go near, but this is even less of that. It's kind of, I don't know. You know, maybe you could take the crime angle. The dangers of owning a giant-ass corn maze. I think there's something. I think you could link it to crime, but it's barely a hint. Alright. Town of Salem. I actually know this one. I've played this, and I can tell you for a fact, it's pretty highly political. It's based on the Salem witch trials from centuries ago, and it's essentially a social deduction murder mystery game, like Among Us. You have to guess who the killer is. There are all these different roles with all these different abilities. It is about a community of townspeople coming together, you know, mistrusting and confusing, and trying to collaborate to stop crime. And that is very kind of like grassroots, pro the people, very much kind of, you know, it challenges, I think, several ideologies, and it challenges several different, you know, forms of you know, law, crime and law and punishment, and law and order, crime and punishment, justice. It kind of leans into the justice system. I still don't think it has like a message, but it's got to be high on the moderate tier. Like, is it above Oxygen Not Included? Probably. Depending on how you play, yeah. It's got more to it than Kindergarten, that's for sure. Town of Salem, because it's overt, it's more explicit as a player action, even if you don't realize it. Whereas Oxygen Not Included is really just an economics game. This is a social game. This is a society game. Is the music too loud? I will turn the music down. Not a problem. Maybe it's this specific track. Is that good? I feel like that looks good. It is not Among Us. Town of Salem came out before Among Us, therefore Among Us is like Town of Salem. Get it right. Yes, but you know, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not arguing with that. I'm late. How did you justify Terraria as barely a hint of a potential political message? Terraria inherently just doesn't have anything other than what any other survival game would have. Kind of, you know, what did I say? Kind of, you know, it could be about exploration or conquest or, you know, imperialism, colonialism, of kind of depending on player action. You know, fighting bosses, you know, how you interact with NPCs, like you can choose to kill or unite them, but I don't know, it's Minecraft's the same. It's like, that has the, I did say, depending on how you play, you could probably put it there, but it's like, as it is, when you actually play it, it's, you know, there is no message. There's kind of, it offers you a world, and you can make that world into kind of whatever you want, more or less. Maybe it should be higher. Do we think it should be higher? This is just my list, but if you guys want to argue against, please, I'd love to hear some. Cool. Thanks, Frog. Let's continue. We're still... Oh, there's so many to go. We're not going to... I might have to do a part 2, guys. I'm going to have to do a part 2. Let's try and speed this up. Dark Deception. A man has to cleanse his sins by going through purgatories. And it's like a kind of weird sort of satanic justice system. I'd say it's open to interpretation, but there's something there. I'd probably put it like there. It's like there's not a whole lot going on. And there's not really a ton of social commentary that I can really think of, even with like all the mascots and the like weird stuff going on, because there's a lot of like symbolism, like there's a school level, but it's more tied into the characters personally than like a political, global kind of thing. There's this power play between the witch and the devil, I forget their names, but you know, I'm trying to think here. I don't think it's more political than Terraria. In Terraria, you build a capitalist village you protect because you're stronger than them. Also, Terraria's story had, like, wards and cults and stuff, I think. Also, there's a taxman? There's a taxman? Nah. Really? Man, Terraria, I can see why you guys are pointing this out now. Maybe Terraria's a lot more political than I thought. Alright, how about... the existence of a... There's a taxman that decreases the happiness of every NPC around him? No way. No way, that's hysterical. I still don't know if I'm gonna put it above these two, but that's hysterically funny. That is a political message, okay? Like, forget, you know, demonstrations of libertarianism or managed democracy. Like, that is way more political than I thought. Okay, let's go back to Don't Starve Together. Is it more or less, again, I think what I've been saying for Terraria applies to this as well. That was pretty simplistic. Helltaker is kind of soft on any planet political stuff. That's why it's there. Still more substance in these, but... Let's keep it moving. The Henry Statement Collection. Again, a lot of emphasis on crime. You know, you're kind of a free bird in this. Henry gets in trouble with the law, but he gets to make choices, some good, some evil. At the end of the day, though, kind of, you know, there's a political aspect to the existence of the government as a faction in this game. You know, you can get a pardon for your crimes. You know, you know, there's kind of the... It's obviously not a super serious game. It takes itself seriously or kind of asks these questions. But, you know, there's maybe something in there, you know, about like crime and justice in the military is obviously a thing. But yeah, it's really more of an adventure story. It doesn't really paint you as like a hero or a villain, except in some exceptional circumstances. So, I might just put it there. I don't know. Does it have more political messaging than Friday Night Funkin'? That's the question. Because Friday Night Funkin', what did I say? It's like freedom, family values, kind of... I don't know, I feel like Henry Stickmin manages to be quite apolitical, despite the premise. 100% political since chapter 4 with the beef between the woman and Malik. That was it. What was her name? Like Agatha or something? He's forced to give you money because you're the leader and he's very unhappy about it. This is the greatest plan. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna put it. This looks familiar. Ben and Ed? I feel like I've seen it before, but I don't know what it is. I hear about this. I know of this. I've never seen or played it. 60 Seconds Reatomized. Definitely a commentary on Cold War America. And kind of, you know, the, you know, what would happen if an apocalypse happened. I wouldn't say it's quite as political as Fallout. It's much more of a comedy game that kind of, you know, mocks American, you know, nuclear family values and kind of tradition. And also kind of, you know, the US government and the military, depending on the ending you get. So I'd say there's, you know, there's not like a message, like an agenda, but there's definitely, like, more going on politically than most of these. Again, oxygen not include kind of depends on the player, but to me, it's like kindergarten, but much more obvious with the kind of politics. Yeah. Yeah, I got about half an hour, guys. But yeah, you escape from a prison and an asylum, you kill multiple military people, you destroy a lot of land around you in vehicles. Henry is clearly a war criminal. Yeah, so Henry Shipman's based. What else is new? Please don't look that game up. I don't remember which one, and that is fine, I won't. Oh, you meant this one, didn't you? Yeah, that's fine, I won't. Honey Pop! I was not expecting to see you here. I have very little of knowledge of this game. I have just enough to get by, because a long time ago, I listened to DA Games' song about this game, and that is the full extent of my knowledge about this game, but the video had gameplay footage. It was enough. I know this is a dating sim. That's basically all there is to it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're all girls. It doesn't exactly challenge society's standards on sex and gender. Although, you know, some of them are very quirky, I guess. It's a dating sim, right? I'm really trying to think here. Because, like, I can't remember the individual girls, but I'm pretty sure there's at least one who's like an anarchist or something. Or, you know, some alternative or goth. I'm gonna say... maybe there. Or perhaps even there. You know, I guess you could say inherently, like, it's about the freedom of choosing who you live and love with. And that on some fundamental level is something that can be, you know, debated politically. Yeah. Political because of the sexualization of women, maybe. Yeah, now we're cooking. All I know about this game is that you match things and clothes disappear. Frog Balloon gets it. Frog Balloon understands. Yeah, it's very NSFW, obviously, and perhaps that itself is political, because it's like, hang on, should you be allowed to do certain topics in games? Maybe... Is it more political than the Henry Stickmin collection? We are edging between the barely and subtle, you know, categories here, guys. Honey Pop is the first game that's gotten me edging over this tier list. And you can quote me on that. I'm going to put it here because I think it's more similar to Friday Night Funkin' than it is to the Henry Stickmin collection. Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, do you really have to rank all of these? Yes, DJ, that's why I'm here. It's funny. And also, general election is happening. For those of you who joined, watch this video. The Chad, Peter Capaldi, doing a video for Greenpeace. Today's charity shout-out, guys. If you're not British, obviously, the election doesn't mean anything to you, but still, great cause. We got to vote green, guys. Or as green as we reasonably can. I'm not saying vote for the Green Party, or even just vote based on who has the best green policies, but it's something that we really do need to work better on. It's in everyone's interests, and the Conservatives have, well, what did he say in the video? Just look at your waters. See how they've done. Yeah. Okay. Subnautica below zero. Subnautica and Subnautica below zero. Okay. I'm not familiar with below zero, but in Subnautica, the backdrop is this dystopian, you know, kind of super Earth-esque, kind of ultra-capitalist, like, Earth empire in space. Like, everything you do and own and collect is owned by the company, and when you finally leave the planet at the end of the game, they're like, you owe us like $1 billion. It's crazy. The actual like setting of like, was it 4546b, or whatever it's called. Again, the name of the planet, very indicative of kind of like, you know, anti-capitalist, you know, kind of talking about like, oh yeah, it doesn't even have a name, you know, so little identity. You got this like flourishing world where these explorers were, you know, about, you got the whole stuff with the precursors and like the aliens. I'd say there's maybe a subtle message, you know, you'll notice it, it'll pop up, but it's not much. It's probably more, this is definitely in the wrong order, it is definitely more than all of these. I think, could even go here actually. I'd say it's pretty similar to the Stanley Parable, so I think it goes there at the bottom of the moderate kind of tier. My reasoning for Friday Night Funkin' is that it's very, because of the music inclination, it's very kind of libertarian. It's all about kind of like freedom and freedom of speech, and I think, what did I say? I said some bullshit about, oh yeah, family values, because, like, the characters are called boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm pretty sure their parents turn up at some point, and there's, you know, the nuclear family. I don't know, I feel like it's got more sauce than Henry Stickmin. There's also definitely a sexual element to this. Do with that when you will. I love this title, Shady Part of Me. Never heard of it, but I gotta, like, actually check out some of these games. Okay, what else? Power Wash Simulator. Power Wash Simulator is about cleaning. You use a hose to clean up other people's properties. You do it for money, not out of the good of your own heart. You're doing it as a job, but it's like, you know, you do a good job, and I think that's kind of pro-capitalist in a very soft way. Is it apolitical? Is it soft enough that it's actually apolitical? Power Wash Simulator, you know, you run a business, there's a tycoon element, but again, that doesn't necessarily make it political. That's just because it's embedded in Western civilization. Power Wash Simulator, you know, you're doing a social good, you're doing a social service that is helping the community and helping others. I think there is barely a hint, but it is barely a hint, and I think it's probably the weakest out of them all. Maybe more than Zardy's Maze and One Shot. Maybe, honestly, it could be more than Dark Deception as well. Power Wash Simulator. It's very soft. I am putting it at the bottom. The bottom. It's the lowest, the smallest hint. Nothing's going to be below that within the same tier. Power Wash is surprisingly a weirdly political-ass game. Really? Is there something I don't know about it? I've watched Markiplier play it. I'm betting there's a lot of games in this tier list that I have never heard of. Same. Again, I'm skipping all the games I've never heard of. I'm sorry for the people who care about these games. I'm sure they're brilliant, but these are the ones I don't know enough about to rank if I have heard of them, or the ones I simply haven't played yet. Next up is Celeste. Trans main character, guys. It's clearly woke propaganda. No. Celeste is a game about overcoming a mountain, and that's pretty much a symbol for whatever you want it to be. In the context of Madeline's journey, it's very much like a mental health thing and a kind of confidence thing. There are some like background implications of her life and why she's kind of run away to this place, but there's not enough to really say anything definitively. It's very open to interpretation. Like, there's a phone call with her mother where she has a nightmare about it and then actually does it, and it's different, but it's like we never see or hear that character again. It's strange. You know, it's... One could say it's demonstrating the privilege of the middle class to, you know, go on a whole ass holiday to get over themselves and not put their head down. Or maybe it's a point about, you know, rising up, you know, as an individual and overcoming challenges to better yourself as a human being. How else could you interpret this? Celeste, you know, I think honestly it's about social freedom, because, you know, you encounter different kinds of adversity and you keep going. The old granny, she keeps laughing in your face, but you keep persevering to defy her, even though, like, you won't give in to social pressure. It's about being yourself. No matter how asinine it may seem to others, you're doing what you want to do, and you're determined to do it. And it's like a positive work ethic. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm reaching, but there might be more in Power Wash. I have never played Super Meat Boy or World of Goo. I have heard of Super Meat Boy, and I've seen videos of it, but I'm not familiar with it. Mac, that's crazy. I'm moving Power Wash Sim up. Never mind. Power Wash Sim is going, Power Wash Sim's going over here, in that case. That's neat. Celeste, though. Celeste. Not really political. It's probably going to be high up in the barely a hint. Like, next to Henry Stipman and Helltaker seems right, because I can't think of anything. I think, you know, it's more about, I don't know, the individual, but it's tangential. Let's continue. Metaltron. No. Melatonin? Why is there a game called Melatonin? My Friendly Neighborhood. There's like one game at least on all of these tiers that I'm aware of. My Friendly Neighborhood, it kind of does that mascot horror thing of having like a shady company in the backdrop of the game. But other than that, it's still, is it more or less than Boris and the Dark Survival though? I'd say it's less. I'd say it's probably less than BTD 6, honestly. I don't think there's much. Deltarune, is that next? Deltarune is next, and I think it's just gonna go next to Undertale. I will say, because of the more grounded, realistic setting of the school and then the fantasy world, and the way the characters are written, I feel like it's actually less. Undertale has like war and genocide in its background. Deltarune is kind of more like kids going on an adventure. I don't know. Deltarune's not done. I think when Deltarune's finished, it could go up here, but right now I'm going to put it there next to Undertale, just below it, for the same reasons we've explained. Bending the Machine, as I mentioned earlier, similar to Boris and the Dark Survival, but much better and much more overtly. It has this, you know, political background that it's really strange because the actual developers in real life seem to go against the very message they're stating. But it's similar to Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a socialist game. It is a game that appeals to left-leaning players because it's about social welfare and workers' rights and trade unions and the absence of these things in the face of cruel, cold, laissez-faire American capitalist politics. You know, it takes an absurd extreme and shows how people were, you know, barely scratching by and surviving in this horrible, horrible workplace. I'd say it probably goes further than FNAF, to be honest. FNAF is like an absurdist comedy, whereas Bending the Machine, at every turn, with every character, it's all about the company and the corporation and that aspect of politics and, you know, individual freedom or lack of. It's, you know, it's got kind of, you know, loss of our wealth. It feels weird putting it there, though. Because I was ranking this as one game and not as a series, so maybe that needs to go down. Is it overt? Not really. I think the game has a bit of mixed messaging. But there's a more source than Town of Salem. More source than Undertale. I gotta think about this. Because there's so much more content. There's so many more characters and voice lines and story moments than this into this. And the cycle, yeah. Chat. I'm gonna be based. I'm putting Bendy in overt political message. Also, Mac, that's a great point. This one is a bit less subtle then. I'm definitely gonna put it above Monstrum for that. Because I didn't even know that. But yeah, Bendy, especially if you dig deep, oh, it is there. What else? Getting over it. Getting over it? Honestly? Kind of like Celeste. Kind of like Celeste, but without the characters or the nuance. I might actually put this one in apolitical. It's just a very generic man out, you know, man falls in hole and climbs out trope. Like, I don't think there's anything... Like, Bennett Foddy does a lot of this self-absorbed philosophical narration, but is there anything actually political about it? Maybe. Maybe a little bit. I feel like it should go there. Can't believe Getting Over It is Blizzardi's Maze, but I can't think of anything. Sable. Ooh. Sable is a game that Lucy was obsessed with for a while, so I know of it. I know it's a big kind of adventure game where you kind of explore and do tasks. And you know, it's just a kind of funky, magical world. I don't think it's that political. I think there's maybe a little bit going on with the setting, but yeah, I don't know, because it's a bit of an anarchy. Poppy Playtime. Unfortunately, I know of this game, and I can say for a fact right now, I'm going to put Poppy Playtime where I would put Five Nights at Freddy's if I was ranking the whole series, because considering what messages the game intentionally or not espouses because of its developers' views and, you know, actions, Money. I mean, it's kind of like Bendy, but it's just worse. It's just Bendy, but not as good from a writing perspective. In fairness, I think I remember the first chapter, and that's it. But I think it's subtle. It's weak sauce. It's like, it can't be more than Soma. I think it's with Boris and the Dark Survival, actually. I think that's where I'll put it. Probably more obvious. Probably more obvious in Monstrum 2 and My Friendly Neighborhood. But it doesn't top super hot in terms of political messaging. It's just very generic, very bland, kind of, evil, greedy company. Except we are going to squeeze as much money out of children as we possibly can. So, I don't know. That one, I can't think of anything. It's been 10 years since I last played World of Goober. I remember being political as hell, even as a little baby boy. It has weird capitalism themes as long as with a dystopian world and such. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, chat, I gotta end the stream soon. I'm gonna just rattle through the last ones, and I'll just, for the sake of not repeating myself, I'll try and justify them quickly, because we can actually finish this off. Little Nightmares, again, dystopian world, kind of, you know, individual freedom, you know, the strong, the weak, you know, kill or be killed. I think that's kind of subtle, kind of up there with, it's more like setting. It's kind of like Inside, but better, I would say. I think Inside, honestly, should go below Super Hot and Plague Inc. Rattling through these. Among Us. Barely a hint. Like, you could definitely interpret politics in there somewhere with, like, how the crew is organized or the wider context, but it's generally presented as very apolitical. I'm gonna say... Hell, I might put it in apolitical. It's kind of like Town of Salem, but it's more as like a crew of like workers rather than a society. It's probably got more than some of these, potentially. Oh, what the hell. I'll stick it there next to Henry Simon, because it's in a slot. I really don't know. Void Bastards I've heard of, but I don't know much about it. Spelunky I've seen, I think, I'm going to leave those out. Minecraft. Minecraft has the potential to be straight up propaganda if you want it to be, but as it's designed intentionally, it's basically just world is your oyster, go wild. And I think because of its appeal to kids, it's tried very hard to be apolitical, so I'm going to put it at the top here. Because by default, it's just a libertarian anarchy, just kind of freedom, freedom, freedom. You can make civilizations, you can make societies, but there's not a lot of emphasis on that. It's not like Terraria, with how it works. I mean, there's trading, I guess, but I think it's not much. My Friend Pedro is just a funny shoot-'em-up game. Pretty apolitical. Maybe bringing up whether or not violence is justified. I guess I'll put it there. Henry Simon could probably go higher. Among Us could probably go higher. Let's do that. Night in the Woods. Oh man, absolute gem of a game. Jacksepticeye, thank you for showing me this game. Night in the Woods is something special. I don't even know, dude. Night in the Woods, it has this big crime plot. Not to spoil too much, but it's like crime is a part of the plot. And, you know, this character is like stuck in this dead-end town. They want to build a life for themselves. And it's very grounded and realistic with the whole family dynamics and stuff. I'd say there's a fairly clear, like, political ideas and themes being presented in this one. Probably a shade above Stanley Parable, to be honest. Maybe even a shade above Undertale, just because of how realistic the setting is. It's much more focused on the characters and their individual kind of decisions and thoughts and feelings, but it's like, you know, it's very clear that they live in a kind of world which only allows certain kinds of expression and, you know, doesn't treat some people well. And poverty is a partly, you know what, guys, you know what, I think it's actually much higher. I think it's up here. It's kind of like wealth and crime. They all factor in. There's a lot of themes in the game. It's not specifically about one, but it's there. I've played Starbound, and it's kind of like Terraria, but in space. So I guess it's probably going to go near Terraria. I don't remember it being as political. I'm thinking maybe here. Ooh, Stray's a good one. Stray's an adventure where you go through the society as like a cat, all like robots, and it's kind of like Undertale, like how like they've been left behind, and I don't know if there's much politics in it, to be honest. I'm gonna put it below Starbound because Starbound has the whole space capitalism thing, I think. Where are we up to? Fall Guys. Consumerism. Unintended and subtle political message about like being pro-consumerism and kind of meritocracy and competing for wins. I think that one goes probably here. I'll reach out in a minute, I promise. I just want to get through this and end the stream on time. I've seen bits of High on Life and Cold on Land, but I don't know where exactly those would go. Not for Broadcast is straight up propaganda. Not for Broadcast is like the only game on here that is not only very, very deliberate with its political messaging, but also very, very like explicit. Like it's not, the focus isn't on, you know, your job. The focus isn't on causing chaos, although I want to keep that top of the meme. Not for Broadcast, straight up, you control the news. You control information about all things political. There's like, the whole thing revolves around like Brexit and kind of like the parties. It's immensely political and it's very British. There's no doubt, I think that might be the most political game on here. If you don't know it, it'll be obvious as soon as you've played it. I played the demo a long time ago. Cuphead, I was thinking about this one. Cuphead, you know, these two dudes have to fight a bunch of bosses to free their souls from the devil. You know, corporate blackmail, anybody? Like, it could be a form of kind of, you know, being trapped in a system where the strong kind of dominate the weak and there's no social welfare and kind of, you know, I'd say there's like a subtle message. It's not like a big deal, but like it's there. Probably not as much as Super Hot. But you know, there's a bit, you know, all the characters owe the devil something. You know, that's kind of a big deal. Still less than Super Hot, I think, because of how Super Hot ends up. Then again, you could swap them, I guess. I don't know. I'll leave it like that. But yeah, Iron Lung, if you actually get into the lore, pretty clear politics. I wouldn't say there's an agenda or message, but like it's up there. It's maybe about here because, you know, in addition to being a prisoner and kind of the morality of that whole situation, there's the whole backstory of the COI versus Eden and like the space like battles that they've had and the kind of, you know, dividing up of resources. When you actually get into the lore of Iron Lung, there's some politics in there. It's not a whole lot. Honestly, because it's not as obvious, I might push it down below Undertale even. Probably above Ghost, maybe there. I'll put it there. I think. Yeah, it's about equal with Undertale. But yeah, what else have we got? Toilet Chronicles. Oh my god, I remember this game! Toilet Chronicles is mad. And it's such a weird, absurd game. I'm just gonna put in apolitical, because deadass, I don't know. That might be the most apolitical game. Benny and the Dark Revival, I think I'm just gonna put next to Benny Neat Machine. I think, you know, I have issues with how this game is written, but its own story is like the best thing about it, and it kind of delves into similar concepts and themes. Maybe better. I'm just gonna put it there. I'm not sure if it's like better or worse. It's equal. But yeah, Honey Pop again. I'm just gonna assume it's the same and just put it next to the first Honey Pop because that's funny. Garten of Banban is propaganda. I will not elaborate further. Nah, they don't deserve to be on this list, I'm gonna be real. I was thinking about ranking them. No, I don't want to. Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley, you interrupt like this whole world. It's a bit of a civilization. I'd say there's a message. It's like pretty subtle. But yeah, they kind of, I don't know, they just sort of have... It's like Minecraft, but more structured. Like, they have an economy and NPCs. I don't know if it's that political. It's got, like, political concepts, but there's not much, like, emotional messaging on it. I don't know what the hell that is. That is horrifying. I tell you what, though. Goat Simulator was Untitled Goose Game before Untitled Goose Game was a thing. So, it's going right there. That is Anarchism, the game. Anarchy, the game. Whatever. Doki Doki Literature Club. Probably not that political. Kind of deals with free will and authority to a certain extent, but not in like a political kind of way. It doesn't push anything in particular. It's very much more about interpersonal relationships. I would probably put it like... Probably... That's going to move down a few. And that's going to move up a little. I think that's probably fair. Okay, I got like 15 minutes. Plants vs. Zombies. Someone said like top tier. Plants vs. Zombies. You know, it's the apocalypse. And you're defending your property. Your homegrown stuff. I think it's kind of funny because you can kind of interpret a kind of property rights message out of that one. Again, sovereignty is an aspect. I think, yeah, that can go next to Terraria over there. Don't know if that Hat in Time or Isaac. Hello, neighbor. Apparently it's okay to intrude on people's private property. This is like an opposing message to Plants vs. Zombies. Like, this is the opposite message of, yeah, be a home invader. It's, I don't know. Politics, not a whole lot in it. Kind of rights to privacy, I guess, and kind of your you know, like, is a neighbor justified in like beating the shit out of whoever's on his property or like grabbing them? Like, maybe, like, that's a little political. It's kind of like there's a subtle little thing in there, I think, maybe, maybe like here. And Plants vs. Zombies, it's probably not overt. Like, I was joking about that. I think it's subtle. I think it's probably about here. I'm not even sure if it's intentional. Human fall flat. I think it's an apolitical game, genuinely. You can choose whether or not to help your friends, I guess. But, yeah, you can do that in these games as well. I've seen this somewhere before, and it looks weird. I've heard of this. What do I actually know, though? None of these. David Dyson recommended it to me. I keep hearing about this. Apparently it's awful. Dredge is a game I want to play, but I haven't. Fred? Okay, we're almost at the end. Here we go. People Playground. You are a god, and these flesh and blood beings are your playthings. It's about kind of like, you know, having authority over life and death. And kind of, you know... I feel like there's a subtle political message in there somewhere about kind of like... You know, the value of human life. That's... Yeah, I don't know. Probably there. But Lethal Company, chat. We love the company. Lethal Company involves you working for this dystopian corporation, and it's like everything is made as clunky and as silly as possible, in such a way that it's like, you know, you don't have any individual freedom at all. And like Five Nights at Freddy's, like Betty, you're in this absurd workplace with doing life or death stuff just to stay alive, just to meet quota, and your entire existence revolves around meeting quota. And there's all the backstory and lore as well. I think honestly this goes next to Papers, Please. That looks creepy. That guy looks freaky though. What'd that tongue do? Only Up I've heard of. I know about this game, and I think this is like Celeste without the story, making it apolitical. I feel like Toilet Chronicles could somehow be a commentary on, like, privacy, I guess, which might bump it up a bit. But Omori, oh my god, Omori might be the least political game. Omori or Only Up? Only Up just because there's, like, no story, basically. Ugh, what is that? Ugh. Oh, I hate that. No. Is that it? We got Buckshot Roulette, and I think that's the last one. I think this is the last game on here that I actually know. Buckshot Roulette, you know, free trade, kind of, you know, capitalist economics, but with life or death, no respect to human life. Definitely, and also it's got like a Russian setting, because of the Russian roulette game it's inspired by. I think there's a subtle message. With like the ending where you're going home and it's like you've sacrificed your life almost for all this money. You know, what does that say about you and your worldviews? I think again it's a subtle thing that's probably there, like really subtle, like maybe above Honey Pop. But yeah, I'd say Friday Night Funking's more political. Oh man, this is such a bullshit tier list. But like, I actually try to apply a consistent, clear logic with this and not just do random stuff just for the funny. If I would change one thing just for the funny, it'd be this. But like, if I'm being so for real, yeah, I mean, that is the list. If I just save or downloads so you guys can actually view this properly. There we go. That is my tier list. Please put inscription and at least 30 at the themes of life in the Matrix, consciousness, and what truly means to live. Also at the end, the government cover-ups. Whoa. I'm not going to because I haven't played it, but I'm with you. Also, I didn't read Frobballoon's QOTD, or not QOTD, just a message. I would honestly bring Undertale up a bit and bring Deltarune down. Deltarune only is vacant to politics, the theme of kings, queens, and power, but no real commentary on it. Undertale, however, is completely based around wars, how they affect people, why it's good to move on from conflicts, and even more. You could even interpret it through other lenses, such as race. While it has other themes, I feel like the political messages are strong to justify moving it up a tier at the very least. You're right. Frog's right. I wanted to keep them together, but no. Deltarune as is, subtle. and like probably on the level of like BCD 6. Undertale could put it in overt. I feel like it's not overt, but then again, at times it's a part of the story. Maybe, yeah, it goes there. Definitely goes with Town of Salem and Night in the Woods. Hell, maybe it would actually even be this. Because this game just has so much going on. I think that might be more accurate for me. That's such a great argument though, Frog. I feel like it wouldn't be a reach to say that PvC is a pro-environment, anti-corporation, political... Oh yeah, because the Zombos all have like machines and stuff. Yeah! Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, mate. Mate, that's definitely more than Stanley Parable. Definitely, at minimum. Maybe a bit above Iron Lung and Kindergarten. Oh, absolutely. See, my brain's been falling asleep here towards the end, so I'm glad you're here pointing these things out to me. Let me think about this. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it there, but I'm going to move Iron Lung up. Just a smidge. Yeah. Anyway, QOTD. DJ, thank you for your QOTD. Everybody, thank you for watching. We are all out of time. That's the end of the stream. Before you go, have a go at the QOTD. What was your favourite message in a game and why? Best answer, win a shout out. Otherwise, it's just going to DJ by default because he's the only one who's attempted it, I'm pretty sure. So let me know. And before you go, please support Greenpeace. Donate if you can. Share this. They're a great charity who are working to, you know, try and ease the effects of the climate crisis. And if you're British, if you're in my country, please, please vote. Watch this video, listen to what Mr. Chad Polly here has to say, and consider carefully, and just please, for the love of God, vote. I think if voting was mandatory and everyone voted, we could enact changes so much more quickly. There should be an option on the ballot for none of the above, instead of people just not voting, because I think it encourages the critical thinking at least, and encourages change for now and for the future. But yeah, we need to enact greener policies now because the world is burning. Like, it's that simple. It's that simple. So yeah. That's my tier list of indie games based on how political they are. Maybe I'll make an actual tier list of just my opinion on these games at some point, or maybe we could do them by other categories, like which game is like a smash or pass of these games, like which games are the sexiest. I don't know. But for now, that is going to be all. So I'm going to go post this on the Discord for the funnies. Like so. I'm going to call this, political indie games tier list. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm going to put that in my pictures folder, and I'm going to post it. Hashtag, you know what, I'm going to do a hashtag from today's stream. Let's GD normal them. So versatile. But yeah, that is all, chat. I gotta go. My voice is going. My voice is so dead. I've been talking a lot today. It looks like DJ has won the question of the day. So yeah, shout out to my man, Super Mario DJ, an American patriot if there ever was one. I am so sorry for you guys in the US right now who have to deal with choosing between a walking corpse and a living orange for president. Like, my god, I saw some clips. That presidential debate, oh, look at this. It was awful, and I feel so bad for you guys. But don't just think of the leaders, think of the parties, think of the policies, the manifestos. I don't know a ton about American politics, but best of luck, because you are going to need it. America's in a rough state right now. And they're not the only one. The far right's been on the rise in France. Germany is kind of a mixed bag right now. It's I don't know. It's been crazy. I need to catch up on my recommended sometime. But yeah, that's the stream, guys. All the links in the description. Check out the Discord server. I've removed my other channels, as you may have noticed. The meme channel is being archived, and I'm handing it over fully to True Player. And the video essay channel is sort of being archived with an open door. There'll be relevant message about that on those channels, but yeah, I'm not going to be advertising those in my description anymore. So you might not see those links anymore, but they're on the banner, at least for now. By the time, I mean, in a few weeks it's all going to change, so this is only going to matter for the people watching now, but yeah. Discord server's there, music's there, yeah. You already know. We're done, and that is finally posted. Indie games ranked by politics. Yeah, we're done. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay hydrated.